The night was heavy and dark. The forest stretched wide, full of strange sounds and hidden eyes. Cold mist moved between the trees like ghosts. A human explorer walked slowly, his boots pressing into soft ground. His name was David. He had traveled far on this alien world, searching for signs of life, for something more than silence. The only sound was the wind, but then it came. A cry. It was not the cry of an animal. It was not the call of a bird. It was sharper, filled with fear and full of words. "Help, please. Help my mom." David froze. His heart beat faster. He looked around. The voice echoed through the trees. It was high and young, like the cry of a child. But this was not Earth. There were no human children here. Again, the cry broke the silence. "Please, someone. My mom is trapped." David moved quickly now. His instincts told him to run, but his heart told him to help. He pushed through the thick branches, his flashlight beam cutting through the fog, and then he saw it. A small figure stood in the clearing. The child was strange, yet familiar. Skin was pale with a faint blue glow, and its large eyes shimmered like liquid silver. It was trembling, tears rolling down its face. David's breath caught in his chest. An alien child. The child pointed, with a shaking hand. "Please, she's dying. My mom is caught." David followed the gesture. Just beyond the clearing, a massive form struggled. The alien mother. She was tall, with long limbs covered in faint scales that shined in the moonlight. But her body was twisted inside a savage hunting snare. Thick metal wires pulled against her arms and chest, cutting deep. Every time she moved, the trap bit tighter, drawing dark blood. Her face, though alien, showed the same thing any mother's face would show: pain and fear for her child. David stepped closer, his eyes wide. The snare was brutal, not made by nature. Someone had built it. Someone cruel. The child's voice shook. "Please. You're human. Yes. Humans help. Please, don't let her die." David knelt, studying the trap. The metal was sharp, like razors, and locked tight around her body. He pulled at the wires, but they cut his hands. This was no ordinary trap. It was designed to hold something powerful, something strong. The alien mother let out a low cry of pain. The sound filled the air, deep and broken. David's heart raced. If he stayed too long, whoever made this trap might return. And yet, how could he walk away? The child's eyes looked into his, begging without words. "Okay," David said softly. "I'll try. I'll help her." The child grabbed his arm tightly. "Hurry, please, before the hunters come back." David froze. Hunters, that meant the trap was set for prey. Not for animals, not for sport. It was meant for this mother. His flashlight flickered. In the shadows, the forest moved. Low growls echoed between the trees. Something was out there, watching, waiting. The human tried again, pressing hard against the wires, but they were too strong. His mind raced. He had only a small knife, nothing more. He pressed the blade against the snare, sparks flying as metal met metal. The wire did not break. The mother cried out again, her body jerking in pain. The child screamed, falling to her side. "Mom, hold on. Please." David's breathing grew heavy. His eyes scanned the forest, the mist, the shapes moving in the dark. He felt that the hunters were close. The silence broke. A sharp snap of a branch, a low laugh, then another. David lifted his head. Between the trees, glowing eyes appeared. Tall shadows moved closer. Their voices carried through the air. "Looks like someone found our trap. The child gasped and held on to David. Fear filled the little alien's eyes. "Don't let them take her. Don't let them take my mom." David gripped his knife tighter. His heart pounded in his chest. He looked at the mother, bleeding and weak. He looked at the child, shaking and terrified. The hunters were coming. David knew he had only seconds to decide. He could run and save himself, or he could stand and fight for strangers on a world that was not his own. His chest rose and fell as he whispered to himself, almost like a promise. "Not tonight. Not while I'm here." The forest grew darker. The footsteps came closer. The trap was tight, the mother's breath was short, and the child clung to him like he was their only hope. And in that moment, David realized the truth. This was not just a cry in the night. This was a call for courage. This was the beginning of something far greater than survival. The forest was no longer silent. The sound of laughter echoed between the trees, cold and cruel. The hunters were coming closer. Their shadows stretched across the mist, tall and threatening. The alien child pressed tighter against David's side, trembling. David's knife felt small in his hand, too small against unknown enemies. He wanted to pull the child away, to run, but the alien mother was still trapped. Her breathing was weak, her body shaking as the sharp wires dug deeper. If he left her now, she would die. The hunters' voices grew louder. "A human, on this world. How lucky for us." Another voice, rough and sharp. "He is nothing. Leave him. The prey is ours." David knelt closer to the trap. He whispered quickly to the child, "Listen to me. What is your name?" The child looked up, tears shining in silver eyes. "Cale," he whispered. "Cale," David said firmly, "you have to trust me. I will not leave your mother, but you must stay quiet. Do you understand?" Cale nodded quickly, though his small hands still shook as they gripped David's arm. David worked faster, pressing his knife again and again against the snare. Sparks lit the night, but the metal was strong, almost alive. It hummed with strange energy. The hunters drew closer, their footsteps heavy on the ground. Through the fog, David saw them clearly now. 3 figures, taller than him, their bodies wrapped in armor of bone and steel. Their faces hidden behind masks carved with fangs. Each carried long spears tipped with glowing blades. One of them stepped forward and pointed the weapon at him. "Move away, human. This is our catch." David stood, placing himself between the hunters and the mother. Cale clung to his leg, refusing to let go. "She's not your catch," David said, his voice steady, though fear twisted inside him. "She is alive. She has a child. You set this trap for cruelty." The hunters laughed. The sound was harsh, like broken glass. "She is meat," one said. "Meat for our fires. The child will be next when it grows." David's jaw tightened. He had seen cruelty before, even among his own kind. But here, on this world, he felt something stronger rise within him, rage, mixed with resolve. Cale looked up at him, silver eyes wide. "Please, don't let them take her. You're human. Humans help, right?" The word struck David deeply. This child, this alien, believed in him. Believed in what it meant to be human. He could not betray that hope. David lifted his knife higher, though it looked like nothing compared to their weapons. "You will not take her." For a moment, the hunters paused. They had not expected resistance from one man with nothing but a blade. The leader tilted his head. "You would die for her. For something not even of your kind." David's voice was low, but strong. "Life is life. A mother is a mother. No one deserves to die in a trap." The hunters laughed again, but less certain now. They saw the fire in his eyes. Humans, they realized, were not always weak. The leader took a step closer. His spear tip glowed brighter, aimed at David's chest. Cale's grip on David's arm grew desperate. "They will kill you. Please, don't fight them." David looked down at him. "Cale, do you trust me?" The child hesitated, then nodded. His voice was small but firm. "Yes." That single word gave David strength. He moved quickly, kneeling back at the trap. He pressed his knife again, harder, searching for a weak point. He had no plan, no tools, but he had determination. Behind him, the hunters grew impatient. "Step aside, human, or you die with them." David ignored them. He pushed the knife deeper, his hands bleeding as the sharp metal cut him. The wire sparked, then bent slightly. Not much, but enough to show it could be broken. The mother groaned, her eyes opening weakly. She looked at David with pain and confusion. A human was helping her. Why? "Hold on," David whispered to her. "I won't let them take you." The hunters moved forward now, tired of waiting. The ground shook under their steps. Cale suddenly stepped in front of David, his small body blocking the hunters. His voice shook, but it carried through the night. "No, you cannot take her. He is helping. He is strong." The hunters stopped for a moment, surprised by the courage of the child. David pulled Cale back gently, placing him behind his leg. "Stay with me," David said softly. The tension grew heavy, like the air itself was holding its breath. The hunters lowered their spears, ready to strike. David's knife pressed harder into the wire, cutting, forcing. His muscles shook with effort. Finally, with a sharp snap, one of the wires broke. The mother cried out, her chest rising with new breath. David looked at the hunters. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned. "You'll have to go through me." The hunters snarled, stepping closer, their weapons glowing brighter, and in that moment, the first fragile bond was born. Atea, you may. A human. An alien mother and her child standing together against the dark. The silence of the forest was broken. The hunters stepped into the clearing, their tall bodies glowing faintly under the alien moonlight. Their armor was black and bone-white, carved with marks of battles won. In their hands, the long spears pulsed with red light. David stood still, knife tight in his hand. He knew it was small, almost useless, but his grip was steady. Behind him, Cale clung to his leg, silver eyes wide with fear. The alien mother gasped for air, still tangled in the wires of the cruel snare. The hunters spread out, circling them. Their laughter was cold, the sound of predators amused by weak prey. "Look at this," one said, his voice like gravel. "Human with a toy knife." Another tilted his head. "And he protects our catch, foolish creature." The leader, taller than the others, stepped forward. His mask had long teeth carved across it, sharp and mocking. "Step aside, human. The female is ours. The child is ours. You may run if you wish. We will not chase you." David's jaw tightened. He could feel Cale's small fingers gripping his leg, begging without words. He could feel the weak breath of the mother behind him. His heart was loud in his ears, but his voice came out steady. "No," he said, "she is not yours." The hunters froze for a second, then burst into cruel laughter. "Not ours?" The leader sneered. "We set the snare. We drew her here. She is meat for our fire." David shook his head. "She is a mother, and she is alive. That makes her free." The hunters stopped laughing. Their glowing eyes behind the masks grew cold. The leader's spear rose, the red blade aimed at David's chest. "You speak of freedom. You are on our world. You live because we allow it. One cut, and you will feed the roots of this forest." David raised his knife higher. His voice was low, but it cut through the mist. "Then try." Cale gasped, pulling on his arm. "No, they will kill you. Please." David looked down at the child, his eyes soft for a moment. "Cale, trust me." The hunters moved closer, their heavy boots pressing into the earth. They walked slowly, confident, like cats playing with a mouse. Behind David, the alien mother groaned again. Her eyes opened, weak but aware. She saw the humans standing before her, small but unyielding, holding back the hunters who had captured. Her estranged spark lit in her gaze. The leader raised his hand. "Take the child. Kill the man." Two hunters moved fast, stepping to the side, circling. Their spears hummed with energy. David's heart pounded, but he did not step back. Instead, he lowered his knife slightly, letting the hunters think he was afraid. His eyes scanned the trap, the wires, the ground around it, and then he saw it. The snare was not just a cage, was part of a hunting system. Small stakes, hidden wires, and sharp teeth of metal buried in the dirt. A plan flickered in his mind. He could not beat them with strength, but maybe he could beat them with the trap they had made. The first hunter lunged forward, spear flashing red. David rolled aside, pulling Cale down with him. The spear stabbed into the dirt where they had stood, sparks flying. The second hunter laughed and swung at him, but David kicked one of the hidden wires. The ground snapped open, a second snare springing up. The hunter's leg was caught, metal teeth clamping down tight. He roared in pain, stumbling. David pushed Cale back. "Stay down." The hunter shouted in anger. The leader's voice was, "Sharp, careless fool. You triggered our own trap." The caught hunter struggled, blood dripping from his leg. His spear fell from his hand. The forest answered with a new sound, low growls. Eyes gleamed from the shadows. The predators of the night had smelled the blood. David stood tall again, knife raised. His voice carried strong now. "You see? Even your own cruelty can turn against you." The leader roared, furious. "Kill him!" The remaining hunter charged. His spear cut the air with deadly speed. Alive. David barely moved aside, the red blade slicing past his shoulder. Pain burned, but he stayed standing. He slashed with his knife, not at the hunter's body, but at the wires on the ground. The trap snapped again. This time, the spear itself was pulled, dragged tight by the wire. The hunter stumbled, surprised. Cale gasped in awe. The leader's rage echoed through the trees. He stepped forward, spear glowing brighter. "Enough. You think you are clever, human? You think tricks will save you?" David met his gaze, steady as stone. "Clever is all I have, and sometimes it's enough." The predators moved closer now, their growls louder, their eyes bright. The bleeding hunter screamed as one of the beasts lunged at him from the dark. The forest became a battlefield of shadows and teeth. The leader snarled, pulling his spear free. He looked at David with pure hatred. "You will regret this." David tightened his grip on his knife, standing tall, though his body shook with fear. And pain. Behind him, the mother whispered weakly, her voice like broken glass but filled with hope. Human. Cale's small voice followed, trembling but strong. "You can do it. Don't stop." David stood between them and the hunters, one man against armored killers. And though the night was filled with danger, though the air was thick with fear, there was something greater burning inside him. He was human. And humans did not run from the fight when lives depended on them. The clearing shook with noise. The cries of the trapped hunter, the growls of predators in the dark, and the hiss of burning spears filled the night. The smell of blood mixed with mist, heavy and sharp. David stood in the center, His knife small in his hand, but his spirit larger than the forest around him. Kale pressed close to his leg, eyes wide but shining with something new hope. Behind them, the alien mother still fought for breath, her body tangled in the cruel snare. The leader of the hunters took a slow step forward. His mask, carved with long teeth, gleamed in the pale light. His voice was low, dangerous. You think tricks make you strong? You are still only human, weak, fragile. Your bones will break as easily as hers. David's chest rose and fell. His shoulders still burned where the spear had grazed him. But his voice carried with steel. Maybe I am fragile, he said. But fragile things can still cut, and I will not move. The hunters laughed again, though their laughter no longer rang with pure confidence. One of them was still caught, bleeding, screaming as the predators circled. The forest had turned against them. The leader's red spear burned brighter. Why fight for her? She is nothing to you. Not your blood. Not your kind. David's eyes met his, sharp and unyielding. She is a mother. That is enough. The alien mother's weak gaze lifted. She heard him. Her lips trembled as if she wanted to speak, but no strength came. Still, her eyes held something gratitude. The leader sneered. A mother. Then die for her child. He charged. The ground shook under his heavy boots. The spear came down like a flash of fire. David moved, his knife slashing upward. The clash was like stone against thunder. Sparks flew. The spear did not break, but David's blade forced it aside for a moment. Enough to step closer. Enough to stand tall, chest against armor. The leader growled, pushing him back. You are nothing. David pushed harder, his voice rough but steady. I am human, and humans don't run. For a heartbeat, the hunters froze. The words were strange to them. They had seen humans before, quiet, careful, always hiding. But this one stood as if the world itself depended on him. Kale's small voice broke the silence. Yes, humans don't run. The child's voice was shaking but proud. His silver eyes glowed in the mist, and his hand clung to David's coat. The leader roared and swung his spear again. David ducked, rolling across the ground. His knife flashed, cutting another hidden wire. The ground snapped open, another trap springing. The leader stumbled as sharp metal teeth snapped around his ankle. His roar shook the trees. David stood tall again, panting, blood running from his hand. You set traps for prey. But now your own cruelty traps you. The other free hunter snarled, stepping forward, but he hesitated. His leader was caught. His brother was bleeding, dragged into the dark by predators. And still, the human did not fall. David spread his arms wide, knife in one hand. His voice carried across the clearing, strong and full of fire. You think. Humans are weak because we break, but you do not understand. We break, and we rise again. You see only flesh, but what makes us strong is here. He pressed his fist against his chest. His heart, the hunters watched him, their eyes cold. But something else flickered in certainty. Kale looked up at him as if he were the brightest light in the dark forest. He is strong, stronger than you. The leader roared in rage, tearing, free from the trap. His armor cracked, his leg bleeding, but he lifted his spear again. I will crush you. I will show your weakness. David did not step back. His feet were firm in the soil. His eyes locked on the hunter. Then try. But remember, this humans are never alone. We fight for each other. The alien mother, weak and fading, opened her eyes again. Her voice was soft, almost broken. Human, brave. Those words were small, but they gave David new strength. His grip on the knife tightened. His chest rose taller. He was not just one man anymore. He was the shield for a mother, the hope for a child, the defiance of his kind. The leader roared again and charged. Their clash shook the clearing, spear against knife, armor against flesh. David's arm burned with pain, but his will burned hotter. He moved with speed, rolling, twisting, striking not at the hunter's strength, but at his weakness, his pride. Each time the spear struck, David forced it into the wires, the dirt, the sharp traps of their own making. Each time the hunter grew slower, angrier, wounded by his own cruelty. Finally, the leader stumbled, his armor torn, his mask cracked. He glared at David with hate. "You are not prey." David stood tall, chest heaving, knife steady in his hand. His voice was clear, cutting through the night. "No, I am human." The forest was silent for a moment. Even the predators stopped to listen. Cale's voice rose again, strong this time. "He is human, and he is not afraid." The leader staggered, blood dripping into the soil. His spear dimmed. The other hunter took a step back, doubt heavy in his eyes. David's body ached. His blood ran. But he stood tall, unbroken, unafraid, and in that moment, the truth of humanity shone bright in the darkness. Strength was not in power, but in the courage to stand for others. The clearing was torn by battle. Blood marked the soil, sparks burned in the mist, and the forest itself seemed to watch in silence. David stood breathing hard, his knife heavy in his hand. Across from him, the leader of the hunters staggered, his mask cracked, his leg bleeding from the trap. But the fight was not over. Another hunter still stood free, spear glowing bright, eyes burning with fury. The leader roared through his mask, "Kill him! End this foolish human!" The free hunter charged. His spear cut the air with speed, humming with deadly power. David stepped back, his boots sliding in the dirt. His chest burned with exhaustion. He knew he could not fight them with strength alone. His mind raced. Every step, every sound in the forest mattered now. He remembered the wires, the snares hidden in the earth, the cruel design of the hunters. He could not win by power, but maybe by wit. The hunter lunged again. David ducked, rolling aside. The spear stabbed deep into the ground, slicing through. A buried wire. The trap snapped open, metal teeth shooting up. The hunter twisted away just in time, laughing darkly. "Clever," the hunter hissed. But not enough. David's eyes stayed sharp. He was learning. Every trap had a pattern. Every wire was part of their cruel system, the hunters thought. They controlled the field, but David saw something else. A map of death that could be turned against them. Cale's voice broke the air, trembling but strong. "Human, please, save her. Save my mom." David looked back. The alien mother was weaker now, her body trembling in the trap. Blood stained her scaled skin. She would not last much longer. David's jaw tightened. He turned back to the hunters. "Then I must end this fast." The free hunter came again, spear flashing like lightning. David raised his knife to block, sparks flying. Pain shot through his arm as the spear smashed against him, forcing him to his knees. The hunter raised the weapon higher, ready to strike again. But David did not block this time. Kay stepped aside, letting the spear drive into the dirt once more. His eyes locked on a cluster of wires hidden under the soil. With a quick slash of his knife, Kay cut one. The ground snapped. A hidden snare shot upward, not around him, but around the hunter. Metal chains whipped tight, locking his arm and shoulder. The hunter roared in shock, pulling, struggling, but the more he moved, the tighter it became. David rose slowly, knife shining in his bloodied hand. His voice was steady. "Your own trap has you now. The hunter growled, pulling hard. "We'll break it. I will tear you apart." But the sound of growls answered him instead. From the shadows, more predators crept closer, their eyes glowing, their teeth shining in the moonlight. The smell of blood had called them, and now they circled. The leader of the hunters snarled, his spear shaking as he tried to rise. "Coward. You use tricks, not strength." David's gaze burned. Strength is not only muscle. Sometimes strength is mind. That is what makes humans dangerous. The trapped hunter screamed as one of the predators lunged, dragging him down. His spear fell into the dirt, still glowing but abandoned. The forest became a storm of teeth and shadows, the hunter's own cruelty devouring them. Cale gasped, eyes wide. He turned their own traps against them. David grabbed the glowing spear from the dirt, lifting it in both hands. It was heavy, humming with strange energy, but he held it firm. His knife was small, but now he had their weapon too. The leader glared at him, rage twisting his voice. "You think you win, human? You cannot save her. She will bleed out before you break that snare." David's eyes flicked to the mother, then back to the leader. His voice cut through the night. "Then I will break her free before you can stop me." He turned fast, running to the trap. His knife cut against the wires, his new spear burning against the metal. Sparks shot into the air. One wire snapped, then another. The mother cried out in pain as the trap weakened, but her chest rose higher, her breath stronger. The leader roared and charged after him, limping but fierce. David spun, spear raised. Their weapons clashed again, light against fire. The shock rattled his bones, but he held firm. Cale screamed, "Behind you!" A predator lunged from the shadows, but instead of attacking David, it leaped at the leader, drawn to his blood. The leader shouted, smashing it away with his spear. The moment of distraction was enough. David struck. His knife slashed the final wire. The trap broke apart. The alien mother collapsed to the ground, free at last, her body weak but no longer bound. Cale ran to her, tears of relief streaming down his glowing eyes. "Mom, you're free, you're free." David stood tall, his chest heaving. His hands were bleeding, his arms trembling, but his eyes burned with fire. The leader turned back, mask cracked, blood dripping, rage endless. "You will pay for this, human." David lifted the glowing spear, pointing it at him. Maybe, but not tonight. The forest grew darker, the predators circling closer. The hunters were no longer hunters. They were prey in their own cruel game. And David, though only one man, had turned the field against them. The clearing was broken now. The traps were ruined, the ground torn, and the air thick with the smell of blood and smoke. One hunter lay dead, dragged into the shadows by predators. Another was caught, screaming as teeth tore him apart. The leader still stood, but his mask was cracked, his leg wounded, his pride bleeding more than his body. David's chest heaved with every breath. His hands shook from pain, his skin cut and bleeding, but he held the glowing spear tightly. Cale knelt beside his mother, his small hands trying to comfort her. She was free, but her wounds were deep. Her breathing was slow, uneven. "Mom, stay with me," Cale whispered, tears shining in silver eyes. The alien mother raised a trembling hand, resting it on her child's cheek. Her voice was weak, but full of love. "Cale, run, live." David looked at her, then at the forest. The predators circled closer, growling, their eyes shining in the mist. The leader of the hunters growled too, lifting his spear once more. "You have caused chaos, human," the leader snarled. "But you cannot save them. You cannot save yourself." David stepped forward, standing between the hunters and the mother. His body screamed with exhaustion, but his spirit refused to bend. "Maybe not," David said, "but I will give them a chance." The leader roared and charged. The ground shook under his heavy boots. His glowing spear swung like fire. David raised his own spear to meet it, the clash filling the air with sparks and thunder. The force drove David back, his knees nearly buckling. But he did not fall. His arm shook, his shoulder burned, yet he pushed back with everything left in him. "Cale," David shouted through gritted teeth. "Take your mother. Go. Run." Cale froze, his eyes wide. "No, I can't leave you." David forced the hunter's spear aside and slammed his shoulder against the armored chest. The impact rattled his bones. But the leader stumbled a step. David turned his head, his voice sharp and full of command. "Cale, if you want your mother to live, you must move now. Take her and run." Tears spilled down Cale's cheeks, but he nodded, pulling his mother's arm over his small shoulders. Struggling, stumbling, the child helped her rise. The leader saw them. His rage grew hotter. They will not escape. He shoved David back and aimed his spear at the fleeing pair. Red light glowed at the tip, ready to strike. David's heart pounded. He saw the spear's glow, saw Cale's small frame in the mist, his mother too weak to defend herself. "No," David shouted. He threw himself forward, slamming his spear against the leader's weapon. The blast lit the clearing, sparks raining. Like fireflies, the leader roared in fury. "Why die for them? They are not your kind." David's voice cut back, strong despite his pain. "Because that child believes in me. Because no hunter decides who lives or dies. Not while I breathe." The leader pressed harder, the glowing blade pushing inches from David's chest. His muscles screamed, but his eyes blazed. Cale turned back, crying, "Human, please, don't die." David forced a small smile, even as the spear's light burned against him. "Run, Cale. Protect your mother. That is what matters." The child hesitated, torn between fear and hope. The mother touched Cale's shoulder, whispering weakly, "He is giving us a gift. Take it." Cale's sobs shook his small body, but he obeyed. Step by step, he dragged his mother deeper into the mist, away from the clearing. The leader saw them fading into the fog. His rage exploded. He tried to break past David, but the human blocked him, spear locked against spear. "You will fall." The leader roared. "Maybe," David said, his voice fierce. "But you will never touch them." The battle raged, sparks flying, each strike shaking the earth. David's arms trembled, his body weak, but he fought with something the hunters did not understand: sacrifice. For every blow he took, he thought of Cale's eyes. For every wound, he thought of the mother's love. And for every breath, he thought of what it meant to be human, to stand even when standing meant pain. The predators closed in, circling both man and hunter. Their growls grew louder, their teeth shining white. They smelled blood, they smelled weakness. And they waited for the first to fall. The leader struck again, his spear cutting across David's chest. Pain seared through him, hot and deep. He staggered, but his legs refused to bend. Still standing. The leader hissed, "You are stubborn, but stubborn breaks." David coughed, blood on his lips, but his voice still burned. "No, stubborn survives." He slammed his spear forward, forcing the hunter back a step. The predators growled louder. Ready to leap, in the mist, Cale's voice echoed faintly. "Don't stop. Please, don't stop." David smiled through the pain. Not for himself, not for victory, but because he knew he had bought them time. Every second he fought was another second Cale and his mother could run farther. Another second of hope. The leader roared, his spear glowing brighter than ever, ready to end it. David raised his own, his body broken, but his spirit unshaken. One man, one human, against the dark. And he stood tall still. The night dragged on like an endless battle. Sparks still glowed in the mist. Blood soaked the ground, and the cries of predators echoed through the forest. David fought with everything left in him, each strike slower, each breath heavier. The leader of the hunters pressed forward, his spear flashing red with rage. David's arms burned, his body weak, but he did not fall. Each time the spear came close, he blocked. Each time he staggered, he rose again. But he knew the truth, he could not last forever. His strength was draining, his wounds deep. The predators' eyes gleamed from the shadows, waiting for the last strike. Yet deep inside him, a voice whispered, "Just one more moment. Just a little longer. Enough for the child to be safe." The leader swung hard, the spear's blade slicing across David's side. Pain tore through him, but he stayed on his feet. His voice came out rough, but full of fire. "You will not touch them?" The leader snarled, frustrated. Why fight for them? They are not yours. They are nothing." David's chest rose and fell. His voice was soft, but it carried through the clearing. "They are everything, because they needed me, and that is enough." The hunter roared and charged again, spear raised high. David braced himself, but before the final blow could fall, the forest answered. A sudden cry echoed through the trees. Not of hunters, not of predators, but of many voices. Figures emerged from the mist, tall, strong, with glowing silver eyes. The tribe, the mother's people had come. At their front was Cale, his small hand clutching a stick like a weapon. His face was still wet with tears, but his voice was loud. "Leave him alone," the child cried. "He saved us. He is brave." The leader froze for a moment, startled by the sudden arrival. The tribe surrounded the clearing, their own weapons raised, bows that glowed, blades that shimmered. The predators backed away into the shadows, their growls fading. The alien mother was carried forward by two of her kin. She was weak, her steps slow, but her eyes were fixed on David. David's body shook. His legs almost gave out. His spear slipped from his bloody hands. He had nothing left. The leader growled, furious. "More prey has come, then all of you will die." But before he could strike, the tribe's weapons shined brighter. Aimed at him, one elder stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "No, hunter. Tonight, you die." The leader roared, but his rage was drowned by the sound of 100 arrows releasing. Light cut through the mist, striking him from all sides. His armor cracked, his mask shattered, and his body fell to the ground with a final cry. The clearing went silent. The hunters were no more. David fell to his knees, his chest heaving, his vision blurry. He could barely hold himself up. The world spun, darkness closing in. But before it swallowed him, he felt small hands grab his shoulders. Cale's voice trembled, but it was full of love. "You did it. You saved her. You saved us." David tried to smile, though blood touched his lips. "Good. That's all that matters." The alien mother knelt weakly beside him, her hand trembling as it touched his arm. Her voice was soft, filled with gratitude. "Human, you gave more than life. You gave honor." David's eyes closed for a moment, but he forced them open. Again, he looked at Cale, at the mother, at the tribe standing tall around him. His voice was faint, but steady. "I only did what humans do. We protect. We stand, even when we break." Tears fell down Cale's cheeks. The child gripped his hand tightly. "Then you are one of us." always. The tribe bowed their heads in respect. Even in their world, strength was praised. But courage, true courage, was sacred. And here, before them, a fragile human had shown. The heart of a giant. The dawn broke slowly, light cutting through the mist. The predators had vanished. The forest grew quiet again, as if honoring the moment. David's wounds were tended by the tribe. He lay weak but alive, wrapped in strange cloth that glowed faintly with healing energy. The alien mother rested beside him, her breathing stronger now. Kale never left his side. The child's small hand held his, as if afraid he might vanish. When David finally opened his eyes to the morning light, Kale smiled through tears. "You stayed. You didn't leave us." David's lips curved into a tired smile. "Told you, humans don't run." The mother placed her hand over his. "This day, you are not just human. You are family." The tribe bowed again, their leader speaking. "You fought for what was not yours, and that makes you greater than any hunter. You are one of us now." David closed his eyes, the weight of pain still heavy, but his heart light. He had come to this world as a stranger. He had faced death in the dark. And now he was something more. He was proof of what it meant to be human. Not strength of body, not sharpness of weapon, but the courage to stand for others, even when all seemed lost. And as the sun rose higher, its light falling on the broken snares in the quiet forest, one truth echoed in every heart there.